You're listening to Party Nerds Weekly.
Kick, punch, it's all in the mind. If you wanna test me, I'm sure you'll find the things I'll teach ya. Be sure to beat ya. Nevertheless, you'll get a lesson from teacher. Now,
Party nerds in the house! Guys, this is going to be a super hyped episode because all of us here at the show are excited about it. First of all, let me introduce our guests. We got Samantha-san. What's up, Sam?
What's up? What's going on?
How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. By the way, your outfit is like pretty dope. Like, did you order that on Amazon or did you do Sam Witchcraft and create your own outfit again from scratch?
Yo! This is the fucking glitch moving the pot and shit.
The headband I made from a shirt, and then this I have got at Spencer's because that's the only place that had it. So
cosplayers always find a way.
Well, I'm disappointed that both of you are wearing Cobra Kai shirts and not Eagle Fang Karate.
When I look into my heart, I feel all of the hurt that was there.
oh, if they had it, I would have bought it. I'm always Team Johnny. Hash brown. Let's get it.
and that mysterious guy in the cold talking is Mr. Bravo-san.
What's up, guys? Glad to be the only martial artist here.
When I look into your eyes and see.
You know, like you're like the sensei. We're like your students because I mean, Bravo, you actually did fight before, right?
Yeah, I had been doing martial arts from the time I was 4 to the time I was 26.
Now, when you were 4, were you just like kicking your uncles and your parents in the legs, like, yeah, I know kung fu, yeah.
You wouldn't.
They're like,
Actually,
there,
so
Bravo.
when I was 4, I was trained by Bobby Leach, who was the Olympic Taekwondo captain and champion. So I was being trained by an Olympian and training to be a junior Olympian at that point.
Well, excuse me. Well, I guess I was wrong. Check, please. Guys, well, let's talk about this series because first of all, one thing that I love about the series so far is it's season 3 and the show has not lost momentum. Know how like difficult that is. What did you guys think about the fact that they came back and what was your like opinion of the season?
So I absolutely loved the season. I think they did an amazing job, just like you said, carrying forth that momentum. Didn't skip a beat. There was a little bit of a time jump, but not that far. So we saw Johnny got to, decrease a little bit with his mental stability. One thing I was actually very surprised that everybody forgot is that he like got rid of his car. Everybody was like, oh, well, where's his car? Where's his car? He threw his keys into his car and then abandoned it. So like that, there was obviously somebody that took it. My guess is one day we're going to see the meth head lady driving his car if it ever gets reintroduced. But
His future wife.
yeah, what's that, pretty boy?
Yeah, right.
But I absolutely love how they just continued and carried forward with the momentum that they built up, and all of the character arcs made absolute sense with where they were.
I mean, and Samantha, like, did you see the original Karate Kid movie years ago? When did you see the first Karate Kid, Samantha?
Oh, I was young. I was like really young with the first one. Yeah, I don't know, probably like 9 or 10.
So when you watch this series, not just this season, like when you watch this series, does it like bring back the feels of growing up? Like that's what I love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super nostalgic, and I feel like they have the nostalgia, they have the soundtrack, everything that a lot of shows lack when they want to like bring in 80s stuff, and it's so good. I love it. I
didn't want listen, there was another movie that came out recently that played in the 1980s, and
yep.
I didn't see the first 1983 of them, so I mean I was a little
Speaking of which, now you bring up a good point because all right, you had a movie that was kind of touting to be the 80s like throwback movie in Wonder Woman 1984, and as we talked in our last podcast, it had very little 80s references in it. But do you guys feel like this series does a better job, like kind of connecting to that 80s vibe?
Absolutely.
100%. Yep.
Absolutely. And not only do they do a good job connecting with it, it makes sense because they don't just bring it up out of nowhere. Like it's the characters that are using those references in a very organic way. Like anytime Johnny brings up any song from the past, it's always kind of like, what, you don't listen to Pantera? Like any of that type of stuff. Or if somebody references it, they're trying to get on Johnny's good side or something to that effect as well.
Johnny's character, I don't care, makes the show. Like a lot of people I've talked to, some people just don't like Danny. They don't like Danny LaRusso, but they love Johnny just because he's so stuck in the 80s. Like, Samantha, what's that comment you always say that he says wrong?
Hash browns. It's
Those hash browns may be a little funny looking, but they sure taste great with your favorite breakfast.
my favorite thing that he says. It's my favorite thing that he says. That whole episode of him making a Facebook was my favorite episode because it was so funny because he is like still stuck in the 80s and he has no idea how to use any of it.
Wait, you guys read the message?
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's so funny.
Did somebody actually post a message?
Yeah. Pause the message. Like you could probably read it on yours, but if you can't pause it at the right point, search it, go online, somebody transcribe the entire thing. It's perfect.
It's so hard to remember my sad yesterdays.
Somebody who doesn't understand Facebook. And
Wait, I love when Miguel was saying to him, he's like, you didn't like all our pictures, did you? And he's like, what, I'm not supposed to? And knowing you can picture someone not knowing. I'm like, oh, Johnny, no, you don't do that. I know what else I like. I liked it. Like, remember when he was trying to get Miguel rehab, right? And then he was he had the Playboy magazines on fishing hooks, and then he was like, "Come on, you can grab." Like, who does that, right? You know,
not only that, it was. You know, I could just look up all of this on my phone. Yeah, but they look hot on the page.
Oh wait, he was like, wait, let me get the 1985 Vanna White issue. That'll really get you going. Like, no, not anymore, man. Those days are done. Yeah, but no, honestly, I think between the one-liners and all that stuff, like, let me ask you guys a question. So, with the Karate Kid, Cobra Kai series being so successful, did they tap into something? Is there a way now to bring back these 80s classics, as opposed to, you know what I mean? As opposed to just doing a reboot that's shitty or bad? Is there, like, should they, like, let's say they tried to do whatever, The Last Dragon, or bring, like, is there a formula to this now, or do they just have great writers?
I think there's somewhere that they could absolutely utilize this, where instead of it just being a reboot, you know, it's a continuation, and it shows like, hey, like, yeah, we do want to capitalize on that nostalgia, but we want to make a new story and show the effects of what it has. Because, I mean, I think one of the most brilliant things about Cobra Kai is that it shows the effect of generational hatred. When you have people that have grudges and problems that they don't hash out, it gets passed on to the next generation. And instead of companies just being like, hey, we're going to make a reboot of this Star Wars, or we're going to do this, to make a continuation while continuing on the themes and touching on everything about it. I think that Cobra Kai's done an amazing thing, and I would love to see more studios at least attempt it.
Right. And I mean, Samantha, so like, what do you think? Do you think it's a good idea to bring back some of these older brands or older things? Like, I mean, you can even look at Star Wars. Like, technically, Star Wars is the same thing. This is a product of the 70s and 80s, and finally they found two people to do it right. Do you think
I mean, that took place a long, long time ago, though.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Far, far away.
Yeah.
Oh, bravo.
I think you need really good writers. I think I love that all of the cast pretty much came back. We had a lot of surprises this season. I love that Elizabeth Shue came back, and I loved her episode, and everything just like flowed really well. So I just feel like it's really important that you have a good team for this kind of thing, because it's tough to like revive a classic, especially when it's about teenagers and you're making it about adults and their kids. Like it doesn't always work well.
You're right. And know what? Another thing about the series I love is, just like any classic story, there's no clear good guys or bad guys. Like, who you think is the wicked one at the beginning, then once you start seeing the other sides of them, to me, that's good writing. Like, it's like, yeah. All right, you know, at first when we first saw Robbie, you know, you were like, oh, Robbie's this rebellious kid. Then you're like, oh no, he's actually misunderstood. Then he kind of like, they go back and forth. And I really love how they do that. They don't, just like humans, there's no, like, Bravo isn't just a good guy. Actually, he's more dark than anything. People just don't see that side of him, you know?
The saying is, nobody ever believes themselves to be the villain of their own story. And I think that Cobra Kai does an amazing job with that, where each character, no matter where you pick up, no matter what character it is, even the side characters that get like one line in an entire season, you can understand why they are in that allegiance or alignment. Like the kid, for example, who was holding Dimitri at the end, right before Hawk's redemption, you can understand why he's on Cobra Kai's side, because he's constantly that guy who's like the sidekick to his friends. And yeah, man, you're so cool. And because I hang out with you, I'm also cool.
Right.
So,
or even like you said, Dimitri's girlfriend. Remember, she was that snotty little Heather's type of like bitch at the beginning. And then before you know it, you can see how Dimitri started growing on her. And then they were like making out in the corner like that. You're right. Like there is no clear cut personality to someone.
And that's the thing, like, you know, Darnell, you know this, but I was lucky enough to interview the showrunners, Danny LaRusso and Johnny, 2 years ago at Comic-Con. The showrunners absolutely were saying, hey, you know, we've got a lot more to say. And this was before season 2 aired. Everybody's going to get a little bit more in their own stories. There's going to be a lot more to tell with both sides. And there's going to be a lot more character arcs to explore, because the characters aren't done interacting with each other and growing from each other. Everybody's got a much longer journey to go. Touching also on what you said earlier, Darnell, how some people are like hating Danny's character. You know, I think it's very shallow for people to say like, oh, I hate this character, therefore it's not good writing. Like, no, you're supposed to not like certain characters. Yeah. And like, even if it's not like, oh, I love them because they're so bad or evil. Like everybody loved to hate Joffrey. Everybody loved to hate Cersei. Everybody loved to hate Ramsay from Game of Thrones. But there's a reason you're not supposed to like some of the decisions that Robbie and Danny make. And same with John. Like it's who their character is. If anybody's ever played tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, or even just RPG video games, there are some times where what your character does is not what you want to do or what would be the logical choice, but it's what your character would do or something to carry the story forward. And so long as it's not out of place for that character, it's good writing.
And you know what, Bravo, I'll add to that. And nowadays, like you look at the 80s, like 80s was like, there's the good guys. And remember in the WWF, there was like Hulk, well, you know, Mean Gene, me and my Hulkamaniacs, eat your prayers and say your vitamins, brother. And then you had the bad guy like the Piper. There was a clear cut between good and bad. But what happened is like 90s going into the 2000s, the bad guys were the ones that were actually getting the better responses, like the Rocks. Like when the Rock turned heel, everyone started loving him, the Stone Cold. So maybe like with Johnny Lawrence, I was going to say Joey Lawrence. I always get that confused. Johnny Lawrence. Whoa. Maybe with Johnny Lawrence, people can relate to his character. Like when he slapped the books out that kid's hand, he's like, sorry, kid, bad habit. Like, because we're not perfect. Do you feel like he's more relatable?
Absolutely. Like it's, and I think you hit the nail on the head talking about the difference between the 80s, the 90s, and then in the aughts, the millennium. Like in the 80s, every story had very clear cut. This is good. This is evil. No matter what the good guy did, he was the good guy. No matter what the bad guy did, he was a bad guy.
Right.
In the 90s, it started to be explored a little bit. It was, okay, but why is the villain evil? They still didn't break it down and humanize them, but it was an understanding of why this villain was the way that they were. And in millennia, it's, listen, not everybody is the villain. Like there are people who believe they are doing good, and that's like considered standard writing 101 nowadays. Is
Deadpool. Sorry.
You not only have to understand and empathize that, why a villain is the way that they are, but you have to really see them as a human being and humanize them to make the audience understand and them go, you know what? If I was in their situation, I would make the same call. Thanos did nothing wrong.
and Bravo says all that just to get his final point across, which is Thanos was the good guy.
I mean, I still hate Kreese. I'm not gonna lie. Even his backstory, I was kind of like, I don't care. I don't like you, and I don't like Tori either. But that's why I like the show, because you're not supposed to like everyone. And I like Danny LaRusso. I mean, I feel like you see why he is the way he is. But at the beginning, they kind of did make him the bully, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing here. I like that.
You mean season 1 when he was at the dealer, like he was the rich little snot? Yeah.
The dick. So, and they made him a dick. So I like that they switched it.
So what did you guys think about them bringing back the cast from Karate Kid to like Chosen? And Chosen was the bad guy in the second film. What did you guys think about that?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I loved every part that they brought in. I like the newer twist with the Miyagi, like Do, and how he had all of these secrets, and he got his revenge on Danny. And it's funny because people that aren't familiar with Karate Kid 2, or maybe the ending of it has slipped their mind, they did brilliant editing where they show that part, and it's Danny, don't kill him, and it's live or die, man, your choice. Danny obviously didn't kill him, but people that didn't remember or weren't familiar with it didn't know what happened. Well, what happened was,
I got you. No, and then right after that scene, his personality totally changed. Like before that, what's that? Right?
He broke character. He went back to being so nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly.
Because he got his revenge. He got his catharsis, and now he's back to being who he was.
You think they'll call him up? Well, do you think he'll return again in the other seasons?
I'd be very surprised if they did. I think it would be something interesting if maybe he came over, but I think the story with the characters we just were introduced from Karate Kid 2, I think their story is done.
So wait, that brings up a good point, Jorge, because at some point we don't want the Cobra Kai, because it's so good, to become the CW universe where you have literally 47 seasons of Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. At some point, do you think they should just stop Cobra Kai and maybe do a spinoff, or do you think it should just keep on going and going?
I mean,
I think talking a lot ago.
Yeah, I mean, the Miyagi spinoff would be a really good idea. Yeah, but then I feel like after that, it should kind of stop, because there's so many characters in this. It's kids, it's adults. There's too much going on.
But when is enough? Like what? Because you don't want to see what happened, like what happens all other. Remember, the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton was great. Second one, not as good, but it was all right, watchable. And then it just progressively got worse and worse. We just don't want to see this happen to Cobra Kai because it's so good. You know, even the Mandalorian, and we brought this up with Mandalorian too. At some point, at least with Mandalorian, you could focus on another Mandalorian. But I mean, I don't know. Personally, I think at some point they should just be like, all right, we did our job. We brought back this classic. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, look at series like Breaking Bad or Schitt's Creek, who, thankfully the fans revived it and they got to do the finale. But like, look at the difference between stuff like that, Breaking Bad, and like stuff like How I Met Your Mother, or with the way that they carried on with a lot of shows like Dexter or so. There are shows where it's very obvious at a certain point it should have ended, or this is the perfect point for them to end. And you would rather hit that and have people wanting more than people see 13 seasons and be like, all right, we get it. Dean and Sam have been revived for the 87th time. Like, what's the real danger? Okay, they stopped the apocalypse. What can be further from that? Or Dragon Ball Z, where they have the power creep. Oh, this guy can blow up a planet. Okay, well, this guy can blow up 10 planets. At what point does it stop? Like, this guy can blow up a galaxy, but at what point is it any different?
And guys, we interrupt this podcast about Cobra Kai to get a word from our sponsor, which is Frosted Flakes. Now, I know a lot of you guys, you might not be athletic, but if you try this new Frosted Flake marshmallows, it'll bring out the tiger in you. There.
Get out.
There.
We win! Man, Tony, they're tough. You two up for a little game?
We'll take you on after this complete breakfast, including my vitamin-packed Frosted Flakes. They bring out the tiger in you.
For a playing in that ought to be good.
Frosted Flakes, good. They're great.
You'll show them you're a tiger. Show them what you can do.
Big tiger.
The taste of Tony's Frosted Flakes.
Man, can she hit?
guys, I mean, just to like wrap it up, another thing actually, which they did in this series that they didn't do in like Wonder Woman is they had 80s music. Like, did you guys see the lead singer Twisted Sister on the stage? That was awesome.
They did an amazing job. The last thing I would want to touch on is honestly, it's one of the things that I found out is the actor who plays John Kreese, he's actually an advocate. Like he speaks on behalf of anti-bullying.
Oh, wow.
Things all over the planet. Like he goes national and he's a frequent speaker with anti-bullying. I thought that was very cool. And when I got to interview Johnny and I keep mixing up the
Macchio.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio and William Zabak. They very much actually did embody the characters that they were. Ralph Macchio's agent was like, all right, he needs to go. He's like, okay, bye guys, bye. Meanwhile, William Zabaka, Johnny, he stayed. He's like giving everybody high fives. He's asking anybody if they want anything signed. Me and him were swapping martial arts stories. Like,
was he being raw with you too? Like, don't be a pussy. remember
No,
he was like, your legs are pussies.
He was super polite. Like, he was really like, stand up, class act all the way. Like, I gotta say, you know, I've worked with celebrities like for over 12 years, and I never get starstruck. He was probably hands down top 3 most polite people I've ever worked with.
I'm so happy to hear that.
That's good to hear. And you know what? And you can tell that they have good chemistry in a set. A lot of times, like, you know, when they do productions, you can tell when cast members don't get along because it doesn't reflect in the characters they're portraying. But there's something about the show, you get into every character. And again, I think that's because you see behind the scenes, like they always show pictures of all the kids hanging out, like they're all friends. And I really think that makes a difference.
I agree. I love Danny and Johnny together. I love all their scenes together. That whole like back and forth, it's so good. It's like the one that grew up and the other one didn't, and I love it. The dialogue.
You guys are Starsky and Hutch now. No, they were narcotic cops.
And I love his wife, Amanda. I was like, she reminds me so much of myself. I love her.
I like that they're introducing her a little more into the fold.
Yes.
I do like that. Not to say anything bad about the actor or like how he's written, but I like how the son has had a very minor role. I think they kind of shouldn't have had him in to begin with.
But wait, the scene he was in was hilarious. When he was telling the girl, he's like, I told you shouldn't have been out late. He's like, yep, she's right. You should know better. That was enough.
Everybody knows a younger sibling that does that. That stands behind mom and dad and goes, yeah, you really should be behaving better. We expect better from you, Samantha.
No, but guys, we're looking forward to the next season. Again, I hope it doesn't go on forever, but I love Cobra Kai. I think it was a great show. And oh wait, one more thing. Did you guys notice that last fight scene in the house? They took it in one shot, just kind of like they did with Daredevil.
Yes, I did.
Actually, you know what I really like? All of the people that are adding or making memes out of that last fight.
Oh my God.
And the ones that are comparing it to the Revenge of the Sith, where Robbie's standing there and he goes, he's standing there, and then Johnny's like, no, Kreese is evil. Well, from my point of view, you and Danny are evil. Don't underestimate my power. Don't try it. And they slams him into the locker.
It was so good.
So good.
All right, guys. Party Nerds, guys. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. Samantha, what is your IG? Just so people can find you on there.
Samantha's _cosplay.
Samantha's _cosplay, and Samantha is amazing. Like literally every day she has another new fantastic cosplay. You guys got to check her out. And Bravo, where can we find you besides hanging out behind taverns and Brigantine?
I'm that Bravo for Instagram, which I'm never on, but you can feel free to follow me anyway.
So guys, Party Nerds, guys, give it up. We will see you guys next week. Party Nerds, go!
Party nerds, party nerds, party nerds, party nerds.